Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Now, before we do get into today's first story, I just want to give you some warnings in case you want to skip the story. It does contain terminal illness and loss of a loved one. So, as I said, if you do want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. The story is from Present Hope 4502 from the True Off My Chest subreddit saying, "My husband is cheating on me with my best friend." I'm honestly not sure where to start, so I guess I'll just start. My husband and I have been dating since I was 19 and he was 22. We've been married for 6 years now. We have 2 kids and I'm 6 months pregnant with our third. 2 years ago, I found out my dad has stage 3 colon cancer. My dad is my only parent as my mum passed away when I was 12. He's my favorite human and life without him doesn't seem as colorful. His laugh is contagious and he gives these big bear hugs that seem to make all your broken pieces feel like they are perfectly in place again. Whenever I've had a hard day, he doesn't poke and prod and just lets me vent and listens. About 5 months ago, we discovered the treatments aren't working for him, and in direct quote of the doctor, he said, "months, not years." Since then, he's gotten progressively worse and now is losing memory. He looked at the dog he got for me on my 21st birthday and said, "Wow, that's a nice dog. Where'd you get it?" My husband has been my absolute rock. He's been there for me, holding my hand and helping me through this. He's been so loving and attentive to both my kids and I. Don't get me wrong, I am mother first always. I don't allow myself to wallow. My kids are still loved, cared for, played with, and I haven't let my load slack around the house. Once my dad got his updated prognosis, my husband encouraged me to quit my job. About a month later, we discovered we were pregnant again, and I still hadn't let go of my job. I kept holding out for some reason. After finding out I was pregnant again, he ensured me it was okay to quit my job. He ensured me it was still okay to quit my job. That honestly, it would save us a small fortune on daycare costs anyway. So I did. I quit my job. My best friend and I have been friends since diapers. Her family is like my family and vice versa. My mum and her mum grew up together. We've always been solid, and right after my dad's appointment, when we found out he had so little time left, I drove straight to her house and she held me while I cried for hours. If there are soulmates in friend form, she was mine. Thick as thieves is what my mum used to say. This morning, as I was up with my 3-year-old, he's sick, my husband's work alarm was going off. He has a few he sets, so I turned that one off and gently woke him up. He said he was up late working, so he took the morning off, rolled over and went back to sleep. As I went to turn off the remaining alarms, I saw a text from my friend on his lock screen that said, "I'm assuming since there hasn't been an angry pregnant lady on my doorstep, you haven't told her about us yet." Time froze in that moment. I took his phone and walked away and just read their conversations. 4 months, this man has been fucking my best friend. 4 months, these people have been lying to my face. And I know what you're going to say. You should have seen the warning signs, but I've been clutching this phone in my hand for 2 hours and nothing. He's been so loving and attentive to me. But he always has been, so kind and gentle. There's been no late night work nights except for once in a blue moon. There's been no lingering touches between them or even glances. They act as they have since the first day I introduced them. How sick is it that she calls him her brother, but she screws him? I know so many people get a moment of clarity in situations like this, but I have none. Aside from being sad about my dad, I haven't changed. I'm still a loving wife and mother. I still doted on him and my children. I talk to him about how he is doing and how was his day every freaking day. I haven't allowed the ground to swallow me whole. I know what I have to do now, but I just don't want to. I'm about to lose my family and my support system in one blow. I'll confront him tomorrow. Today, I just need this last 24 hours of peace. As for her, I won't give her the satisfaction of a response. I don't care why she did it. She did it and it's done. I was always the friend who cleaned up her messes. After today, I will cut her out of my life like she never mattered at all. This has been the hardest storm I'll ever weather, but damn it, I know I'll sail through it. If not for me, for my children. Now, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of good legal advice down in the comments below, far better than I could ever give. about getting your ducks in a row and all that kind of thing. But dealing with that on top of your dad's illness is bringing back some memories. Obviously, I never dealt with cheating on top of my dad's illness, but just thinking about what you're going through in terms of how I felt during that time. And I'm not trying to take that away from OP. I'm just trying to relate to how OP is feeling in this. And I just find it incredibly unfair that you're having to use your valuable time and energy towards this, what he's done to you, instead of putting it towards your father and the time that you have remaining. It's, oh, fucking hell. And it all sounds absolutely horrible to be dealing with. But OP's last sentence there, where they said, this has to be the hardest storm I'll ever weather, but damn it, I know I'll sail through it. If not for me, for my children. It sort of gives me some hope for what OP's going to do next. OP was the top comment on the post as well, giving a small update. And said, a small update about everything going on since my kids are now in bed for the night. I spent the morning gathering everything I could and making a checklist. I sat in my office for the better part of the morning, telling my husband that I was preparing things for my dad. Not a total lie, I did have to get him sorted with hospice today. My boss would be happy to have me back. However, my lawyer said, pump the brakes on that idea for the time being. However, my old boss did tell me that whenever I'm ready, the door is open and just give her a call. He does not have access to my inheritance from my father nor my mother. My lawyer assured me in that. I didn't mention her in the post, but my mother-in-law is an absolute angel. I love and adore her so much, and she's always been my shoulder to lean on. After he'd gone to work for the afternoon, I asked my now ex-best friend's mum and my mother-in-law to meet me at my dad's house. My kids were outside playing with now ex-BFF's older brother. I just handed them the screenshots, saving them from the unsavory pictures and sex tape, though I did tell them it existed. To say they were furious was an understatement, as they are on my side completely. Angie, my now ex-BFF's mum, is ready to cut contact with her daughter completely. She kept repeating how sorry she was. We hugged and cried together. My mother-in-law told me she couldn't believe she raised a spineless, terrible human. That no matter what happens, I will always have her, and as far as she's concerned, she doesn't have a son, only a daughter. After an in-person meeting with my lawyer, we went over finances, logistics, and everything you could think of. She has all of the proof, and she's out for blood. With this post now on TikTok, I don't want him to find out by an app, because one look at the story and he'd know it is about him. With permission from my lawyer, my ex-BFF, her mum and dad, my soon-to-be ex and his parents will be having a get-together tomorrow. By the time they're sitting down and showing them everything, and that I know, my dad, my kids, and my ex-BFF's brother, he's coming to help me juggle the kids and my dad, being big and pregnant doesn't help with mobility, will be at my dad's cabin a few hours away, enjoying the time and space. I know a lot of people were hoping for me to get revenge or do psychological warfare, but honestly, after my kids went to bed, I took a shower and just broke. I don't have the strength or energy to dish anything out. I just want out. Pretending like everything was okay today was too exhausting, and I just don't want to do it. Once he finds out tomorrow, I'll update with aftermath, as I'm sure it will be huge. As for now, thank you all so much for your kindness, warmth, and support. Truly, your words have helped, given me strength to keep my head above water. I appreciate every single last one of you for everything. In the comments, Hungry Bee said screenshot and save those messages before he could delete them. OP says I did. I emailed everything to myself in an old email I haven't used since high school and don't keep saved in my apps. That way if he goes through my phone, he doesn't find it. I'm not a very good liar or good at keeping a poker face, but since he woke up, I've just been using the excuse that I'm upset about my dad and just need space. He bought it. I called around for a couple of lawyers and found one before he woke up, so I've been emailing them back and forth for the last half an hour. Snacking Penguin says, I hope you have a separate bank account with your own emergency fund stashed. If not, please use the time now to create one and put some funds there that he doesn't have access to. This goes for credit cards too, if yours are only connected to joint accounts. OP says, thankfully we signed a prenup and I've always been a very big saver, where he's always been a huge spender. So when I got my inheritance at 24 from my mum, I never touched it and there's just been growing interest and he doesn't know about it. I'll also be getting my childhood home when my dad goes, which I hope is not for a while, but I know the kids and I can move in at any point and he'd welcome us with open arms. And with that update and these comments so far, and that especially that last comment about OP's dad being welcoming to the house with open arms and having that backup. I think that's a really good thing, and especially having mother-in-law on her side as well, and just some sort of support system to lean on, because with everything that OP's going through, this cheating, a father as well, whilst OP sounds incredibly strong, emotions and grief can absolutely hit you at any moment. That's what I found whilst I was going through it. Like I always say these days, whilst I was dealing with my father's illness, there was moments through a lot of it I felt very pragmatic. There wasn't very many tears. Every once in a while they just come out of nowhere, like just overwhelmingly. So I was really worried about OP when they said they didn't have anyone, but I'm glad that some sort of support system is forming for them, especially with other kids as well. There's just so much to deal with from OP in this. Dresden Mouse says, get a copy of everything. Lawyer, scorched earth. Talk to a lawyer before confronting him. For that text, she seems to be pushing for him to leave you. Burn her on your circle too. OP says, honestly, I wish you could see just how desperately she was pushing for him to leave me, bad-mouthing me at every turn. He always shut down the bad-mouthing and told her, I will never leave her, you know your place. It made me cringe and want to throw up. Like, oh, you'll fuck my best friend, but trash-talking me is where you draw the line. It would be comical if I didn't feel like my world was exploding. OP updates the post again and says, for my typing's sake, I'm going to give everyone fake names. So for context, mother and father-in-law is Ruth and Joe. Ex-BFF parents are Angie and Bob. Ex-BFF is Jess, soon to be ex-Tyler. Ex-BFF's brother is Jake. And I just referred to my dad as Dad. I have a few things I want to get through, so I'll just summarize as best as I can. And if you have any questions, I'll answer in the comments. To get this out of the way, because to me it feels important. Yesterday I scheduled a same-day appointment with my Obgyn and got tested for just about every STD/STI out there. I got the results for most back and they were all negative. There's a few that take up to 2 weeks to get the results back for, so I'll be waiting on those. When I met with my lawyer, I brought everything on my end financially wise, including the wills from both my dad and my mum, and I managed to get my hands on his financial documents. He stores it in his office in a locked box. I also brought over everything we had set up financially for my children. While I'm not totally sure if it's everything, I am pretty confident I got most of it. My lawyer was happy I managed to get my hands on that much. Ruth even handed over a will to me from both her and Bob to ensure I was taken care of in the divorce. My lawyer understands I'm wanting a divorce immediately. However, she wants to make sure she is thorough and isn't missing any key info. So hopefully, I'll have actual divorce papers to give him in about 30 days. I'm not rushing her though. I'm letting the professional do her job. Now for the sit down. I asked Angie and Ruth to describe everything in detail on what happened. Angie, the revenge seeker that she is, forced them to sit through a slideshow she put together of all the texts. I know a lot of you were concerned about one of them telling them sooner than later, but they were so secretive. They didn't even tell their significant others about what was happening. Once the slideshow ended, Tyler tried lunging for Jess and Joe actually had to force him to sit down. Tyler was shouting profanities at Jess and telling her she will regret this. Jess started crying and begging her parents for forgiveness. Bob looked at his daughter in the eye and told her he will never forgive her for this. Blood or not, she is no daughter of his. He didn't raise his daughter to be this person. Jess was always a daddy's girl, so I think that cut her pretty deep. Jess is in the middle of a divorce herself, and her parents were giving her money for her lawyer, and they had told her she is cut from both of them financially and physically. Tyler's dad was irate. According to Ruth, he looked like he was holding back on throttling him. From there, Tyler went straight home. I know because we have a Ring doorbell camera along with a few cameras in the house for our kids to keep an eye on them when we aren't right next to them. Tyler came home and saw that most of mine and the kids' stuff was gone, and he lost it. Started yelling and throwing things. The house is now trashed with a few holes in the walls for decoration. When he didn't find us there, he went to my dad's. While I did spend most of the day, he was at work packing and moving things into my dad's house. We were already at his cabin. Tyler took a baseball bat to my dad's door, trying and failing to break it down. My dad's neighbor actually called the cops on him and he was arrested. His parents refused to bail him out. I had an appointment with my therapist today. I've had one for a year now since I was struggling with my dad. and it felt good to just cry it out and let everything out about how I was feeling. It was very helpful, and she gave me a few tools to work through my emotions with this one. I felt very grounded and empowered leaving my session today. I'm also planning on setting up my children with a therapist when we get back from the cabin to figure out the best way to deal with telling them. I know people said I shouldn't, but I will be telling them, just in an age-appropriate way. I don't want there to be secrets and lies between us. I've always been as open and honest as I can with them, again in the most kid-appropriate way. Just because they are small humans, they're still humans and still deserve the truth. I had a handful of comments telling me that I should stay, and every man cheats. I should work things out because most of our marriage was good. I refuse to believe all men cheat. My parents were married for 20 years, and after my mum passed, my dad never moved on. I watched my dad love my mum for 12 of those years and cherish her. I will not accept anything less than that kind of love. He never cheated, nor did she. But I'm not sure when I'll be ready to move on. Falling in love is the absolute last thing on my mind at the moment. I refuse to let Tyler win and destroy love for me completely. I will move on from this. Jess started blowing up my phone, demanding I fix the situation and immediately blaming me. My lawyer told me to not block texts just in case they spill out any additional info I was missing. She was playing the poor me card very hard. The thing is though, I never influenced Angie and Bob to cut contact with their daughter. They made that choice on their own. She actually started blaming me for stealing the love of her life. I introduced them when Tyler and I started dating, so not sure where that came from, and that Tyler is only with me for the kids. Honestly, I knew she was just trying to hurt me at that point. I didn't give her the satisfaction of responding though. Between her and Tyler, I have about 200 missed calls. Tyler went from begging and pleading me to forgive him. Like I said, I didn't have divorce papers to hand him, so he's stuck in this unknown grey area. I also asked Angie and Ruth to not say anything about the divorce to him yet. Purely just for my satisfaction, honestly. I know it's slightly petty, but keeping him in that grey area of not knowing is my small revenge to him. To threatening to call the cops on me for kidnapping, telling me Jess wasn't the only one. Bingo. Just what I was looking for. To telling me I'm a stuck-up bitch, to threatening me, to back to begging me for forgiveness. Honestly, it was just whiplash reading those texts. I'd be lying and saying if those texts didn't hurt me and terrify me all at once, but I refuse to let them break me. As for both of them together, I don't think he is going to stay with her. I think he blames her for blowing up our marriage, honestly. Who knows though? They deserve each other. I was initially okay to do a 50-50 split with Tyler for custody, but after his reaction, I don't feel comfortable with that, so I'll likely be going for full custody. Jake has about 30 days of leave he's saved up, and he's going to be using them to help the kids and I get settled at my dad's house, and honestly, to be there in case Tyler tries showing up going crazy again. He's been such a big help to the kids and I lately, and I'm forever in his debt for this. Last night after the kids went to bed, he hooked up his Xbox and we played a game called Diablo 4 together to help me take my mind off things. It was fun. However, he did sort of confess that he's always had feelings for me somewhere in the midst of things, but also told me to not say or do anything back. He understands a relationship or anything like that isn't on my mind and won't be for a while. He isn't wrong, but just that he's felt this way since we were teenagers and just wanted to get it off his chest. Thank you again. Seriously, your comments, your support, your messages, all of it has been one giant breath of fresh air. Just knowing I have a whole online community willing to go to bat for me has kept me treading water these last couple of days. Your comments have popped in my head when I felt like just giving up on leaving him because it's so hard, and gave me so many great points and helpful advice. I know I deserve more and I can't accept his actions. And to the people who commented relating to my situation, my heart goes out to you all. The pain is awful. I hate that so many of you can relate, but your stories have resonated deep within me. You all keep commending me for my strength, and my personal favorite is telling me how proud of me you are. Every time I see those words, I start to tear up. I'm blaming the pregnancy hormones. But your words have helped put me at ease, so that way I could do what I needed to do. So I'll leave this here for now. If anything of importance happens when I go back home, I'll update further. Thank you all, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. So there were some questions to OP in the comments. So it started off saying, I'm sure many of us would like to know, have you told your lawyer that you want to go for full custody? And have you saved those messages your soon-to-be ex said with threats towards you and your children? I'm sure you have, since you saved screenshots of messages the first time. You've handled this really well, You've done all the right things to gather evidence and protect yourself. I'm proud of you, and I really wish the best for you and your children. Opie says I forwarded everything to her, as well as telling her he was arrested, and she responded with full custody, and I agreed. Thank you truly so much. So there was a deleted comment from a Redditor who was complaining about OP taking the kid's father away from them, and OP responded saying, I'm not taking away their father. I will not keep them from him at all, but yes, I will most likely go for full custody. Not out of bitterness or spite, because I simply could never be that person. There is zero excuse for punching holes in walls and trying to break down my dad's door, threatening to unalive me, unalive our children. If he wants to see them, I will allow supervised visits. Maybe in the future, if he gets therapy and help for those thoughts and actions, I'll allow it. For now, my mind is made up. You may see it as running away, but I see it as taking space to comprehend what has happened to my life and allow myself breathing room. My entire future I'd carved out for myself and my children had exploded right in front of my face. That deserves breathing room. And yes, I allowed others to confront what they did to me, simply because I don't have the mental capacity. My focus is on my kids and my dad. Everything else is background noise. Honestly, even if I did confront them myself, my in-laws and ex-friends' parents would have had their own confrontation regardless. I'm fully aware I will have to face the music one day. However, today is not that day, and I plan on enjoying that for the time being. A user who claims to know OP made a comment and said, "Are you serious, Jade? Coming on here and playing the victim, you disgusting fake human being. Not only that, but you expose yourself by telling the real names. Now everyone will know it's you and your entourage. You are so jealous and have a huge obsession with Kristen that you ruined your own life after all the mess you created. It's obvious Toby never loved you, but just wanted to use you for his pleaser. There's nothing more easier to manipulate than a jealous freak who has an obsession with him. If he really wanted to run away with you, he would have done it a long time ago, but he lied to your face with the one big excuse ever. I stay for the kids. Ha, you are the clown here, not the victim. That's why even your own parents cut you out from their lives too. You are such a shame as a woman, but also as a human being. You pretend to be friend and betrayed not only her, but your family and your own husband. Can't wait to hear what will happen to you when more people will know around you. You'll finally receive the treatment you deserve, specifically after wishing her to lose her baby. Karma will do his job now." Opie responded saying, "You told me to break up with him when I was 19 and you were engaged to another man. You never said why. You never said anything about him, because if you did, I would have never been married and you would have been cut out sooner. Also, no, I put fake names in the post to protect your identities, but if you want to blast yourself to the public, that's your choice, not mine." OP has one more update and says, "Hi everyone. I know a lot of people are still asking for an update. Not much has happened, but here are things that have happened. Tyler discovered the post and asked me if I was seeking a divorce. I said I was. He apologized for losing his cool, asked if there was any hope for reconciliation. I said no. We did have a conversation about the kids and he'd be allowed to see them with supervision, to which he agreed to. I had another meeting with my lawyer. Nothing of major importance happened. Nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, has happened with Jake. He didn't take back his confession, but as I said, it's on the back burner for a long while. My kids' health and well-being take priority over all else. My dad's health is on a steady decline. He's now in hospital with no release date in the immediate future. Please send over thoughts and well wishes his way. My kids are adjusting well. We have a therapy appointment for them scheduled next week to help them. My oldest has more questions than the rest, but I'm trying to save any big conversations for the therapy appointment, so I know I'm conveying the answers in a meaningful and least harmful way. Also, my oldest made tryouts for the traveling soccer league. Yay. Oh, and the baby is doing great. Things have calmed down a lot, truly. I feel like I have a better grip on things. I've been putting most of my focus on my dad and kids to keep myself busy. Thank you friends for the love, support, and for checking in." And it is suspected that there's going to be no future updates on that. But I can't get over how strong OP comes across on this, the way that they're dealing with it. So much to deal with in one post. They seem to be keeping level-headed around it all. I just find that pretty incredible, but I really do hope that OP continues to take time for themselves and lean on the support system when they actually need it. Because I'm sure there's going to be times when it is going to be needed. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for your love, your support, your time towards the channel, towards the people in the stories as well. When you are showing your love and support towards them, it means the absolute world. So thank you so much for being a part of it. And hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.